Welcome back, Crackle Addicts. I'm Lupinefiasco. This is Daily Fab Gameplay, and today I am going to walk you through my upgrade path for Armory deck Aurora that is going to get you to this from this. The point of this guide is to tell you, sort of in ascending terms, what I believe are the better upgrades to make to the Armory deck, and my goal is to create a timeless Aurora deck as the end product. Metagame shift. We are about 2 months away from the release of High Seas. LSS has already shown us some cards that are sure to shake up the meta, so there is no guarantee that the 80 cards in this Aurora deck are guaranteed to be good when High Seas comes out. Maybe even before that, certain heroes may rise in prominence. So this deck is not guaranteed to be the max level of competitiveness at all times, but it will give you the foundation upon which to adapt to the overall metagame, maybe your local metagame, and within the maybe board of the finished product, there are going to be some suggestions from the most recent callings that you could play in Aurora if you felt like you needed to specifically target some existing decks, or that might be good against future decks. This guide itself is available in the video description below. Link to that Fabry deck is in the video description, as well as links to my Discord, my Blue Sky, and my Patreon. Patrons at the Arc Lightning tier and above will get access to this deck list with a full suite of matchup guides, though I will demonstrate the matchup guides within this deck list. It's just a little teaser. There's also going to be a link to my Aurora gameplay playlist if you are a new Aurora player and you want to see how the deck functions and how I navigate some turn cycles, and that will be in the video description as well. But for the most part, I just want to jump right into what we're doing here. So starting with the Aurora Armory deck, this is the just standard stock version. How to use this guide itself: if you go to the versions tab, you will see where I have designated the upgrades to make, as well as an approximate dollar amount. This is based on TCG player low with shipping here in the United States. If you are a Star City Games customer or living not in the US, then these prices may vary. If you go into the matchups tab, well, there are no matchups for the base Armory deck, which only has 60 cards and no sideboarding. I did add matchups for specific heroes that will demonstrate why I either added or removed certain cards from the deck. And like I said, the patron guide will have a full list of matchups, really, that fill out everything else. You can't see the drop-down menu from this box in the top left, but this will easily navigate you through the various lists, starting with the Aurora deck. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this. You know what this deck looks like if you've bought it. The 5 pieces of equipment and 60 cards in the deck are all you have to work with. I do think this deck is a good starting point for anyone who's interested in Aurora. There are some real competitive staples here. Cards like Burn Up Shock, Electromagnetic Somersault, Electrostatic Discharge, particularly Arc Lightning, are all cards that see play in Aurora decks that are winning events today. We also have the new cards in Skizzik, Skyward Serenade, and Written in the Stars, all of which have found success. Skizzik and Serenade are both really good in every matchup. Written in the Stars is a little more situational, but is still a very strong addition to Aurora. So do I think this deck is worth $40? Yes, I do. Do I think that there are not significant improvements to make to the deck, even with just adding $10 worth of bulk? I think we can make those additions pretty easily. So let's go ahead and look at the bulk. I put a $10 price tag on this tier. That is for anyone who doesn't have a local Flesh and Blood scene and maybe ordering off of TCG Player. But if you do have a local Flesh and Blood scene, and especially enfranchised players who very likely have piles and piles of bulk to give away, I recommend approaching them about getting bulk. A lot of these cards are not ones that will stay in the deck long term. Cards like Blade Beckoner Helm are here just to supplement the existing product and maybe replace some cards that I think aren't quite good enough, even at this level. But you'll notice that I did fill out bulk with cards like 2 more copies of Electromagnetic Somersault, or cards like Ravenous Rabble, Scar for a Scar, and Sigil of Suffering. These are all cards that see play in winning Aurora lists. They are very competitive and available for very, very cheap. The real meat and potatoes of this tier comes with the cards in inventory. Cards like Battlefront Bastion are very cheap pickups that help against Prism. Cards like Gravekeeping are very cheap and help against Count Your Blessings decks. So Flesh and Blood does have cards available at very low rarities for very low amounts of money that will help fill out specific matchups. Cards like Blade Beckoner Boots and Blade Beckoner Gauntlets are not particularly competitively viable, but in these growing stages will help you against heroes like Jarl. And you can refer to the matchup guides for when you would want to bring in these specific pieces of sideboard tech. But for the most part, we are just continuing to fill out that foundation for very low amounts of money. Moving up into the mandatory tier, as much as I want to make this video timeless, I have to acknowledge that I did create it in a point in time where Aurora is very universally acknowledged as the best deck in Classic Constructed, and as such, buying into her now will cost you a lot of money. Rosetta is the set that Aurora's cards come from. It is out of print. Aurora is the best deck currently, and people are scrambling to pick up her staple Majestic cards ahead of Calling Sao Paulo and Pro Tour London. So it is pretty crucial that you pick up a playset of Channel Lightning Valley. It is the best card in Aurora's deck. It is just unfortunate that it also happens to run about $100 for a playset. This tier is simply comprised of 3 copies of Channel Lightning Valley and the last copy of Arc Lightning that we want to fill out. Arc Lightning, thankfully, much cheaper, as enfranchised Aurora players are buying Armory deck Aurora for their copies of Skyward Serenade, Skazek, and Written in the Stars. They are picking up extra copies of Arc Lightning, which then they are then able to sell or trade. So the Arc Lightning shouldn't cost you too much. Channel Lightning Valley is a bit of a bear as far as price is concerned, but it is the best card in Aurora's deck at really any level of competition. So I really truly recommend you get your hands on that as soon as you can. But with only those 4 cards in the mandatory tier, we're not going to spend too much time here either. Moving into the important cards, slightly below mandatory but still very good, is where we start to see some real movement as far as significant number of cards moving in and out of the deck, and where we also get some much cheaper cards that you can pick up if maybe Channel Lightning Valley isn't quite within your budget for now, but you do want to continue to upgrade your deck. We're starting with Crown of Providence, which is not a cheap card, but it does have the benefit of being very good in Aurora and being very good overall. As generic equipment, it is something that you will take with you through the rest of your Flesh and Blood career. As you're playing other heroes, you transition out of Aurora and start trying some other decks. Crown of Providence is playable in all of them and is usually very good to play in all of them. So that is the one upside of paying so much for Crown of Providence, is that you're paying for it for all of your decks. But we are also adding much cheaper cards like Exude Confidence, which, while being another 0 for 4, really improves your defensive matchups. So heroes like New, Enigma, Florian, Jarl, heroes that play a lot of defense reactions get much easier when you're playing with Exude Confidence. We're also adding cards like Sink Below, which is just another set of defense reactions, really helps you out in the aggro matchups as well as against Assassin. And we're adding in Flicker Wisp, which is almost mandatory for beating heroes like Enigma or Jarl or Florian, heroes that block very well, and that we need a lot of damage all at once to go over the top of. Thankfully, Flicker Wisp, Sink Below, and Exude Confidence, while not quite being bulk, are all under $5 for a single copy. So buying these 9 is a really easy way to start truly upgrading the power of your deck. And of course, the cards that we're cutting to make room for these all live in our maybe board. I'm not going to go through all of them as they are cut, but just know that if I'm cutting a card like Gravekeeping, it's because I'm replacing it with something else that is equally good in that matchup. That's the important tier. It'll run you about $160 to buy out that entire tier of upgrades. It'll then cost you $450 to get to what I'm calling the less important tier. The less important tier is so called not because the cards are bad, in fact they're very good, that's why they command such a high price tag, but it is that they are more marginal upgrades compared to what you're already playing in the deck. So a card like Dyadic Carapace is much better than Shockfrock a lot of the time, but not so much better that I really think you should run out and spend $100 to get your copy compared to a card like Crown of Providence or Channel Lightning Valley. Grasp of the Arknight is a really, really good card. You'll play it basically forever, but it isn't so much better than Zap Clappers that you should run out and spend $100 to get your copy compared to something like Crown of Providence or Channel Lightning Valley. Similarly, we have Enlightened Strike and Gone in a Flash are the other 6 cards that are in this tier. E-Strike is a really good card to play in Aurora. It synergizes very well with Arc Lightning and any of our embodiments of lightning to attack for basically a 1-card 5. But that isn't so much better than a 1-card 4, like Static Shock, which is what I replaced E-Strike with in this list. Gone in a Flash is a lightning 0 for 4, it blocks 3, it synergizes really well with our Electrostatic Discharge, it fuses with Arcanic Shockwave and Entwined Lightning, but it isn't so much better than options we already have in the deck that you should run out and buy your playset of it. But as you are continuing to upgrade Aurora, Gone in a Flash, E-Strike, Dyadic Carapace, and Grasp of the Arknight are cards you will want to get your hands on at some point. E-Strike is a generic attack, so it at least has the advantage of being playable by other heroes as you move away from Aurora. Grasp of the Arknight, Dyadic Carapace, and Gone in a Flash are definitely more limited, which is why they are in the less important tier. Finally, we have the finishing touches. This is where you're really going to be spending the bulk of your money at the same time. It's where you are finding the least important upgrades. These are either extremely marginal upgrades, such as buying current funnels to replace your Heaven's Claws. You will play a current funnel in probably 5 games out of 100 compared to pitching or blocking with it. If you're pitching or blocking with it, it's a blue 3 block with lightning on the card. Heaven's Claws is the exact same thing. It is only every once in a while that you get a slightly higher chance of victory by playing current funnel compared to Heaven's Claws. We also have cards like Shelter from the Storm, which is another defense reaction, can help against certain classes like Assassin. It also gives you some flexibility. If you're bringing 6 defense reactions against a certain hero, it gives flexibility in what those 6 defense reactions are. Certain heroes can prevent the arcane damage from Sigil of Suffering very easily, which is when you would bring in Shelter from the Storm and Sink Below. But Shelter from the Storm is going to run you over $200 at the moment for a playset. You don't need it that badly. Balance of Justice is very good against Prism and Dash.io and Dash Inventor Extraordinaire. It's very good against Brutes. It has some utility against Jarl, being a 2-block headpiece that doesn't break when you use it to block, but it costs over $100 and does not significantly improve those matchups to the point that I think you should run out and buy one. Same with Fiandal Spring Tunic. You will get use out of it. It and Balance of Justice are generic pieces of equipment. You can use them no matter what hero you're playing, but it costs a lot of money. We really only bring it in against a few heroes, and it isn't so much better than Shockfrock or Dyadic Carapace that we want to run out and buy one. Shock Charmers is basically mandatory for playing against wizards. We are replacing a Spell Void 1 piece of equipment with a Spell Void 2 piece of equipment, so it really is just better for playing against wizards, but pretty high price tag. We don't need to run out and buy it right away. I said that I would really switch up the maybe board, and I did. I'll show it to you now. Previously, the maybe board was just cards that I had taken out of the deck, either from the stock list or what I had added. At this point, the maybe board is comprised entirely of cards in their quantities that have been used in top 8 events, specifically at Calling Kobe, Battle Hardened Kobe, and Battle Hardened Taipei. These are not cards that I think you should run out and buy. If you were to do that, it would cost you quite a bit. Command and Conquer's very expensive. Crown of Dominion runs you about $40 at the moment. That All You Got, Poison the Well, Snag, Warmonger's Diplomacy certainly are going to cost you in the double, if not triple digits. But these are cards that you can consider as you are tuning up Aurora and thinking about how pro players have been approaching the current meta. Battlefront Bastion, very good against Prism. Scar for Scar, good against aggressive decks. That All You Got, good against Assassin and other Auroras. And these are cards you may want to consider, but not cards that I think are specifically good enough that you want to drop even more money than you currently are. And you can see our price tag here is $15.50. If you wanted to just buy this entire deck, that is quite a lot. The point of this guide is just to give you an upgrade path that will take you to here, from here, over the course of as long as you want to spend buying out these cards. So I hope this was helpful. I know this is not the usual content that I put out, but there was a very strong reception to the Armory deck KO upgrade guide that I put out last year. I think the Aurora Armory deck is in an even better starting position, and that there is a lot of room to grow from the base Armory deck very quickly to get to a spot where it is much more competitive, and then as you have the funds available that you can go even higher from there. If you are a new Aurora player and you want to get more information on how to play the hero, you can check out the How to Play Aurora Shooting Star video that I put out just a week ago. There's a link to that in the video description. You should see it on your screen now as well. Like I said, there is Aurora gameplay in the video description. You can leave a comment or a question if you want me to answer. You can pop into my Discord. I'm always available to answer questions about Aurora. I love the hero. I think she's a lot of fun. She still has quite a lot of runway before she hits Living Legend, and I think she would be very good to buy into if you have the funds available, and hopefully this upgrade guide will help you do just that. My normal shtick here on Daily Fab Gameplay is reviewing my own content recorded from Talishar. Plenty of that available on my channel. If you haven't already done so, give that subscribe button a click. You will get all of my new videos in your video feed whenever they are available. Other than that, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy playing Aurora. I hope that these suggestions were helpful, and if you do decide to take them, then they pay off for you. Aside from that, thanks a lot for watching, and until the next time I see you, take care.